Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dulce. Good to see you.
Okay, I think we'll probably get started. We've got quite a bit of people.
Okay, so welcome to everybody to our 30 May Wednesday homeless task force through the COG. And it's great to see everybody that's signed in and logged into our Zoom meeting. We're going to get started and request that we receive and file the minutes for the last meeting. And we'll go right into item 3, which is our SPA 8 services provider. And we'll let, I'm not sure who's speaking today, but we'll let whoever take that over. So SPA 8, you're on.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Courtney here from PATH. Anna has the day off. Kim has jury duty. And so it's just me. And Haley is going to join at some point. So I'm going to provide an update on our services since our last meeting, on our efforts since our last meeting. Next slide, please. We are people assisting the homeless. We are a team of 4. We have 2 staff in Supervisorial District 2 and 2 also in Supervisorial District 4. And we're out here and engaging folks, providing intensive street-based case management, helping people obtain identification, increase their income. Of course, you know, trying to connect them to permanent housing resources, interim shelter, interim housing, referrals, anything, any goals they set, and any needs they identify, we try to assist these individuals with. We have a new staff. You see him here, Sal. We're excited. He joined the team a couple of weeks ago. And then that's Megan. And then on the other picture, we have Jenny and Robin. And that they were on the truck that was out in Lomita McQuay yesterday, the DHS truck. So that's one of the DHS staff on there. I don't know who she is. So next slide, please. Here's our outreach schedule. I know it's kind of small, but here it is. We work on the schedule every week to ensure we are covering all of the cities. And then we use Fridays for our team meetings, documentation days, and also the team has case management appointments on Fridays as well with the participants at times too. So this is our schedule. Next slide, please. We've had some success. We have a mother and daughter, adult daughter, that were experiencing homelessness out in San Pedro. And we had them in a hotel for a while. They did have a voucher and we did work with them. One of them had a voucher, so we had to work with her and then work with the other one to secure a unit so we can refer them to Street to Subsidy. So they found a nice apartment out in Pasadena, actually. And they are in Street to Subsidy and receiving case management, and we are, you know, happy for them. Next slide, please. We've had another woman, Michelle. She was homeless in Torrance, and she had been with us for a couple of years. And she also had a voucher, and we were able to secure a place for her. She actually moved in yesterday in an apartment in San Pedro. So we're super excited for her. We actually went shopping with her on Friday to buy some curtains for her unit. So she was super excited, super grateful. And yeah, next slide, please. We continue our joint outreaches with other agencies and other city staff, outreach city staff. We're still in communication with Gardena Police Department. We work with the Carson City staff that are wonderful, as well as Torrance City staff, and we have some scheduled outreaches with them every other week. We're also involved in Redondo Beach's homeless court that occurs once a month. And we also are still in communication with our shelters for people that are interested in going into shelters that day, if they have availability. Next slide, please. We, again, we have some joint outreaches for larger areas with other agencies. So we are in Gardena with PATH, Harbor Interfaith, and Loss of Mental Health America. And then again, the city staff of Carson and Torrance. And then we reach out to Lawndale city folks because they usually, or they reach out to us and let us know like their hotspots and we go out to engage folks. Recently, just last week, we started back going out with a physician from Venice Family Clinic. And we're super excited about that, to have medical services, more medical services out there in the field. So we're super excited about our connections with them, collaborations. Next slide, please. Please continue using the LA HOP portal to make outreach requests. We do continue to receive those. Next slide, please. Since March, well, between March and April, we received 18 LA HOPs. And there's a city by city breakdown. We've gotten 2 from Carson, 5 from Gardena, 2 from Lawndale, 2 from Harbor City, and 7 from Torrance. And so we try to go out and try to locate those folks and keep the portal updated on our efforts for those folks. If we can't find them, or if we go back out and try to look for them, if we were able to make contact. So continue to submit those LA HOP requests, please. Next slide, please. We're currently case managing a total of 45 people. The newest staff member is slowly building up his caseload. And then Megan is just getting out of training. And so she's building her caseload as well. So those numbers will increase. We have 18 seniors that we're working with in SD2 and 4 in SD4. And we've assisted 4 people in permanent housing. We have 7 people that are pending permanent housing. And we've had a total of 80 interactions with folks. Next slide, please. Here's a slide of our outcomes year to date. So we're still connecting people to mental health, primary care providers, substance dependency, and increasing their income, and of course, permanent housing resources. Next slide, please. And then here's a total of our year to date for vouchers for the housing part. So 9 for interim. I think that's supposed to be interim. The slide is messed up. Sorry about that. Bridge housing 15, mental health or DHS interim 19. We referred 32 people to safe parking, 26 people to the tiny home villages across spot 8, well, the few that are in spot 8. 75 housing vouchers were submitted when the big rush of vouchers came through. And then 42 were matched, 21 were received. And the last time we got vouchers were 2 new ones in December. And extra strategies, we try to do direct placements, meaning we can leverage our funding and the participants' funding and street to subsidy to try to get into an affordable place. Roommates obviously are better, or SROs, which some people are open to, some people don't really like those. And then shared housing, we do continue to reach out to Tom from Share Collaborative. And then the SROs, like I said, recuperative care, and then interim housing. Next slide, please. So some challenges we've had, transition of staff. So we lost Lydia. She moved over to the county. We're excited for her for that, but she's a great staff that we lost. And then shelter availability, interim housing availability. Sometimes there are days where we do encounter folks that want to get in somewhere that day and we're not able to assist that day. Let's see. And then high rent cost. Rent is super expensive. And then the housing authority, some challenges there with the vouchers taken away and just other barriers that we've encountered with the housing authority. Next slide, please. Feel free to stay connected. You can always reach out to me through email, or Anna as well through email. We're mostly responsive best to emails because we're a lot of times in meetings and stuff, so we can't answer the phone all the time. So feel free to email, to reach out if you have any questions, you need anything. And just a plug as well, we also do have prevention services. It's not Anna is not the contact for that, but you can contact me and we'll make sure you get connected. So if you have people that are on, have a 3-day notice or, are behind in rent, feel free to call, email me, and then we'll reach out to them, have a problem solving conversation and try to go from there to see how we can best assist. And I think that's it. So thank you. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Courtney,
thanks,
hi,
Courtney.
it's Lori. I do have a question. First of all, thank you for this work. I'm wondering if you're seeing an increase in seniors in what you're seeing out there. And also, I thought I read there was a motion somewhere to change the 3-day notices to have to be 30-day notices. I'm wondering if you know anything about that.
I don't know anything about that. And then I think we're always seeing like an increase in seniors. A lot of the calls we get for seniors, they're, the fixed income. But seniors has kind of been kind of a consistent population that we see. This, super unfortunate.
So we think I have Brian and Janet with questions. Brian, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question. So I just wanted to ask if the LA Hop and the Hop portal and referral was different than Long Beach Hop. Do you know if they have, is it the same thing or are they two different programs?
I believe they may be two different programs, but I also know that we have submitted LA Hops for the city of Long Beach as well. So
Hi, this is Max with Harbor Interface Services Spot 8. We oversee the LA Hop here at Harbor Interfaith for Spot 8, and Long Beach has the same program. We share and we actually deploy teams from the city of Long Beach and our outreach teams with MHALA. We will assign teams for Long Beach area from the LA County LA Hop. So they are one and the same.
thank you, Max.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then, oh, okay. No, I guess, yeah, that answers it. Okay, thank you so much.
Lori?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. It might be confusing because the city of Long Beach has another program also called HOP. It's Housing Opportunities Program.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like their housing matching program in addition to the CES program. But they do use the same LA HOP portal like Max explained. So that might be part of the confusion.
Thanks.
And
Lori,
I had a quick question.
go ahead, Janet.
So you mentioned that you're having problems with housing authority. Are you referring to LA County or are you referring to individual cities in the South Bay?
No, none of the South Bay. It's just been a lot of things with various things with the vouchers, the EHVs. There's a very tight deadline at one point to like you get the use it or lose it basically. And then we've had some barriers with like rental negotiations and things like that. So yeah.
Thank you. We're hearing a lot of that as well. That's why I'll connect with you offline, Courtney.
All right.
Thanks. Ronson, you see any other hands?
No, that's it.
Okay, so thanks for that report. We appreciate Courtney. We appreciate all you guys are doing. We'll move on to the DPSS, Emergency Housing.
Hold on, Rodney. Sherry Weaver's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry Weaver's here. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was trying to keep my head down.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So for my report out today, start with our 4 interim housing sites. So our San Pedro interim housing site, out of 40 bed available, we have 4 vacancies right now. And there's 13 permanent housing placements that have come out of that site. ABH site in San Pedro, which is our 100 bed facility. We have 8 vacancies right now and 29 permanent housing placements. Redondo Beach, we have no vacancies and 12 placements coming out of there. And then just a real quick update, we are in the beginnings of discussions to add another 20 pallet units to that particular location. And then Torrance Pallet Shelter, no vacancies for 14 permanent housing placements and 1 individual that we had to move to a medical higher level of care. For the CES system for individual adults, we've had 35 individuals that have been permanently housed through time-limited subsidies. Another 63 that were chronically homeless individuals placed through housing navigation and street-based outreach. And then another 48 individuals through our 3 independent city contracts for the beach cities. For transitional age youth CES, we've got 29 youth enrolled right now and 12 that have been placed into permanent housing through time limited subsidies. And then with the we've had 14 households come through this year that have been assessed. We have 103 of them so far placed in permanent housing through time limited subsidies, and then another 45 that have been able to maintain their housing through prevention. And then just real quickly on prevention, we do prevention for both single adults, youth, and families. Anybody that has a 3-day notice, Lori, I know you asked about the 3-day and the 30-day. 3-day notices are usually our pay or quit, which means somebody has fallen behind in their rent. 30 days are usually somebody that's current with their rent. However, for whatever, not complying with their lease agreement, they get a 30-day notice to pay, 30-day notice to vacate. So if there are people that are imminently at risk of losing their housing because they've fallen behind in their rent, they can reach out to us and apply for prevention services through each one of the population systems. And I wanted to take a moment today just to talk a little bit about the emergency homeless declarations made both by the city and the county. We have started our initial conversations with the mayor's staff on the Inside Safe program. So we are looking at 2 particular encampments that are being targeted, one being Lomita and McCoy in Harbor City, and the other one being 5 Points, which is near Harbor Regional Park. Both of those encampments have about 20 to 25 people. We are in the process right now of putting together the by name list of who's at those sites, because we want to make sure that we've actually had people that are starting to shop encampments and going, I want to get in a hotel room too. Where is the Inside Safe program? I'm going to go hang out there. That is not the intention of this particular program. These are folks that are actually known to us that, date back almost a year or longer. In addition to that, the mayor's staff has reached out to local hotels. So the idea is that we're bringing people, clearing out complete encampments, bringing them into hotels, and then working on that housing navigation piece to end their homelessness through permanent housing. So right now, the locations they're looking at is Horizon and Penguin Motel. I did not name these hotels, so I'm just laying out the names of them in Harbor City. And then Monterey Inn, which is in Wilmington. And then there's 2 other possibilities in Wilmington and Harbor City, one being Anchor Point, and the other one being the Harbor Inn in Harbor City. So most of the ones in Harbor City that we mentioned are right there on Pacific Coast Highway and not too terribly far from the encampment. So we're hoping those sites will work out. Harbor Interfaith will be taking the lead on this particular project. But then in addition to that, so there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of wrangling in the last couple of days. We just spoke with the county for the countywide encampment resolution, which is very similar, if not identical, to the city's resolution that they have. So we are looking at the encampment that has been coming up as a top priority in Lenox over at 101st and Irwin. And according to the data that we have right now, it looks like there's 79 individuals at any given time over in that location, most of that being in encampments. I believe there might be about 4 RVs over there. My understanding, the latest update that I got is 2 of those were actually taken in as evidence based on a murder trial that's going on that just recently happened over there. So a lot of focus going on with that. We just spoke with the county homeless initiative team today. And they've also reached out to one of our contracted partners, which is St. Margaret Center, who oversees that northern hub of SPA 8. Makes the most sense too, because that is their backyard, and we want to make sure that we have familiarity with the location and the individuals. But there'll be a lot of entities that are working on this, including MHA, the MDT team. I know has had a lot of engagement over there. The host team right now for safety concerns, making sure that we're out with law enforcement. the Lhasa Het team and even their weekend team. So I will keep you posted on when that gets off and rolling. We're probably looking at probably late May, early June on that particular project, and with the city project as soon as possible, once we get the agreement set up with the hotels. There's my friend Oni.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to just chime in on this real quick. Thanks, Sherry, for first sharing that brief. Just let everybody know this is all still kind of in the process, the planning process. So it's not set yet. There's a couple of other items that we have to kind of a bunch of resources we have to marshal, but we did see this as a possible opportunity since it was already scheduled for a cleanup. So just kind of want to put a pin in it right now publicly, that it's something that's currently being planned, something that's being prioritized. However, it's not scheduled at the current moment until we can get confirmation of the marshaling of the resources to do this the way that we'd like to do it, with everybody having a pathway to permanent housing.
Thanks, Oni.
Hey, Sherry, quick question, two quick questions. You mentioned the Redondo Beach Shelter is adding pallets. How many pallets are they adding?
We're looking at 20 right now.
Adding an additional 20?
Yeah, so we just had a conversation the other day with Mike Webb and Joy Ford. So we're in the initial conversations, feasibility, what's going to be needed. Yeah, so
Is it going up in the same location?
That's what we're looking at right now. Yes.
Wow. Okay. And then when you said the harbor interface is going to be active in the motels, Penguin, Horizon, Monterey, these are fancy names. Are you managing the hotels and doing housing navigation in them?
Yeah, so same way that we did Project Roomkey, we'll be doing the same thing with these hotels. So there actually be a room with the city one. I know Oni emphasized that we're still in the planning stages, but with the city, they're moving full steam ahead. So we will have a room there to provide case management, and then the overnight staff that'll be there. Depending on how many rooms they have set aside, will depend on how many individuals will be able to move in there. So each one of them has a different allotment that we'll be able to move in. But yeah, we'll be overseeing the whole operations, including food delivery, any kind of services that they need towards housing navigation, document readiness, even job development if needed. So everything included in that.
What army are you going to leverage? Like, where are you going to get the staff from?
We've got this line waiting. No, I don't. Recruiting. Right
Okay.
now, we've actually started some work with a temp agency right now. And they're the same group that has been helping us with our resident aides at our interim housing, and even our custodial staff. And so they are doing searching now for case management staff.
Okay, let us know what the COG can do to help with that.
Candidates.
And get your hands full.
Dulce had a question?
Yes, hi Sherry. I wanted to, do you mind repeating what the vacancies you have is at San Pedro and where else?
San Pedro, the interim housing site, that's the DHS one, is 4 vacancies.
Okay.
And then the San Pedro Bridge Home site has 8 vacancies right now.
Okay, thank
And
you.
a waiting list.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? Okay, now I can move on to DPSS. So DPSS Emergency Housing Resources for Survivors in Spot 8. Stephanie?
Actually, that's going to be me, Rodney. It's going to be Carrie L.
Okay.
So we're going to be presenting. If you don't mind pulling up the other PowerPoint, that'd be great. Perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. Some of your faces look familiar, some of you may not. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie L. Escalante, and I'm with Rainbow Services. I'm the Director of Community Housing at Rainbow. So I'll be presenting a little bit about the services that we offer. We're a victim service provider located, our research centers are located in San Pedro. We had a total of 6 sites. our research center in 7th Street, our education center on 8th Street. Some of you may have walked past that or driven by. There's a mermaid mural up in the front. You can't really miss it if you're around there. So those are our two public sites, and we also have 2 satellite offices, our legal office and our community housing office. And of course, our shelters, our emergency and transitional shelter, which are confidential. Just a little bit about our mission. Rainbow, we provide shelter and support to anyone who's impacted by domestic violence, empowering them to move beyond trauma towards safety and stability. And one of the things that we like to lift at Rainbow is that everyone deserves respect, love, and safety. You'll see our values there. And if we can move to the next slide, please. All right. So just to give you a little bit more about our emergency shelter and transitional shelter. Our emergency shelter is a temporary shelter that our participants can stay for up to 90 days. Normally you enter to this if a participant in crisis, they can call the hotline. Our hotline is available 24 hours. And during this hotline process, they do an intake. If the person meets the criteria, is in crisis, then we can get them to our site safely. We're outside of their danger zone, which essentially means that their batter has no connection to the immediate area. Then they would be appropriate for the shelter. So we'll get them up there for up to 90 days. I do like to lift that our emergency and transitional shelter are both pet friendly. We're one of 2 agencies in LA County that take in pets who are not oh, I'm going to miss the term. Who are not certified support animals. So we do have space available for that, and we have nice facilities laid out for them. In addition to that, if for whatever reason that's not available, sometimes we have designated rooms for that. We also have like the pet hosting, fostering services that we can that we work with. As far as our transitional shelter, this is a longer term shelter. This is anywhere from 6 months to 9 months. In this shelter, it allows participants to stay there while they stabilize. Many times participants have to deal with legal situations where they need to be in court so often. So job stability may look different, crisis that they need to deal with. So this really allows them to have some longer stabilization process. At our BP shelter, we can hold up to 10 families for in a year, potentially more, depending on how fast our participants transition. In addition to that, I did want to add that we're in the process of getting 4 additional tiny homes for our facilities. This would increase our capacity up to 30%. We would be able to host 4 small families, and there's more to come on that, whether it's going to be a shorter or longer term. It really may vary depending on circumstance. Next slide, please. All right, more about supportive services. As you can imagine, we have, of course, every person that enters our shelter is assigned a case manager as well as a housing advocate. But we also work a lot with the outreach community, right? So you don't have to be in our shelter for you to receive services. If somebody just wants to receive, let's say, the counseling services or the DV classes or whatnot, then they can come into our facilities and do an intake and get connected and receive those portions if they're not ready to move forward, but like leaving their abuse or whatnot, or even if they're just during the process of like enduring trauma or anything after the fact. So supportive services include anywhere from case management, counseling. You see here, we also have an in-house legal program that supports with restraining orders, family or custody orders, as well as divorces. And we also support with immigration relief, specifically for survivors, such as VAWA, U visas, and in some cases, T visas. Because you can imagine the intersect of domestic violence and human trafficking, it can be very apparent in some cases. So In addition to that, we also have our community engagement program, which focuses more on doing presentations out in the community as well as with the youth. So we have the Griselda, who is our community engagement coordinator, goes out to the community. If you ever have a need for any of those presentations, we can organize that and have someone show up. So, but many of us take that role on as well. Next slide, please. All right. And for our community housing program, which is what I oversee, we offer rental assistance, and we support participants with housing navigation, as well as like advocacy with landlords or property management companies. Our housing program was one of the first recipients of the Housing First funds that were available through the state, which is funds that were specifically for survivors of domestic violence. We were one of 6 agencies that participated in the pilot. In addition to that, we now are recipients of Survivor First, which is an LA City pilot that was modeled after Housing First. And what's really interesting about these 2 types of fundings is the flexibility that comes along with this fundings. Many times when we work with HUD funds, there's not a lot of flexibility that our survivors seem to need. Expenses that we usually see come up are, for example, car repairs. Many times our participants have experienced like slashing of tires because of the perpetrator, then they're unable to get to work because and sustain their household. So in situations like that, legal assistance, if they're dealing with custody issues or whatnot, that cannot be supported for whatever reason through legal aid. We also support with health fees. And if they're relocating, of course, the typical cost, security deposit, rental assistance, and move-in assistance. So that's the flexibility that we have with this types of funding that are specific for survivors is really important for us to continue to do the work that we're doing. Next slide, please. All right. And I'll just share really briefly after. Let's say a participant comes to Rainbows, they've completed all of the services and they've stabilized, they're ready to move forward. We always complete an exit summary. During this exit summary, we ask if a person wants to continue to be involved with the work, whatever that may look like. And last year, we hosted our first advocates programs in which we had a few participants go through 6 months of workshops or whatnot that they could learn how to go ahead and advocate within the policy system. So now we have a group of advocates that if we need someone to share their story or provide input into what can be improved in the systems, there are go-tos. And we're trying to recreate this model so we can have another program this upcoming year or before the end of the year. In addition to that, the next step after they've completed that, we've connected them to the allyship program, which is through the Domestic Violence Homeless Service Coalition. The allyship program is a program where ally gets partner up with a system leader so that they can continue to advocate and provide their input into like bigger systems. So I would just like to make the plug that if any of you are interested in being somebody's ally, then please reach out to me. Next slide 4. Okay, how can you support? So there are many ways. You can go to the next slide, Robson. All right, so sharing resources, of course, I know that there's a lot of great resources that I've always gathered from this meeting as well as other community meetings. Reach out for help. If you see anybody that's in need for help, always feel free to refer them. As I mentioned, and you'll see at the next slide, there'll be a hotline. That number is not only available for crisis situations, but a person can also call to make an intake appointment. Be an advocate, of course, advocate yourself. Like I said, we're always open to providing this, presentations and any types of educations. And most importantly, as you can all imagine, if you have any landlord partnership that you are able or willing to share, we always welcome them. Those are tough to come by. And volunteers and donating. One thing that I want to add before moving forward, although Rainbow is one of the victim service provider in SPOT 8, We also have other victim service providers such as 1736, New Star Family Justice Center, Office of Home Affairs, NISWA, and everyone looks very differently. Some of them may have emergency shelters, some of them may only offer support services. So really getting to know those local providers is really important. I will go ahead and now pass it on to Stephanie.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Wack, Domestic Violence Regional Coordinator for SPA 5. I am stationed at St. Joseph Center, and I have with me Laura. If you can unmute yourself and introduce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Elena Garza. I am the Domestic Violence Coordinator for Service Planning Area 7, and I'm stationed at the Whole Child.
So thank you for allowing us to present on DPS's Temporary Homeless Assistance Program for victims of domestic violence. Next slide. So we will talk about the CalWorks TAP program and the current landscape right now and what the advocacy project is about. Next slide. So a lot of time, domestic violence and homelessness are not terms that we associate with each other because we think they are very different situations. But in fact, we have noticed for quite some time that a lot of victims of domestic violence are actually becoming homeless due to the victimization. We are doing better, are tracking a little bit that victimization through the homeless population. This is the count from 2020 and 2022 from LACOC. And you can see that the number are very telling. Roughly, and it's pretty much the same number between those two comparison, roughly 4,000 people report becoming homeless due to domestic violence. That's not a small number. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay. This number, they are coming from domestic violence shelter-based program from 20 and 21. So roughly 17,000 calls were made requesting shelter services. Only 4,400 were able to be fulfilled. Based on those 4,000 clients served, 65% of clients roughly have income less than $25,000. That's very low. But this number, we will keep that in mind for the later part of the presentation. So basically, victim of domestic violence, we believe that they're going to DV shelter, but understand that we don't have a huge capacity in domestic violence shelter. Therefore, when a victim is fleeing domestic violence, a lot of time they are fleeing into homelessness. And that is the issue that we're trying to, address today. Next slide.
Oh, just to I like to always revert this back to SPA 8. How I usually think about it is when you see a number like 17,000 people, divide that by 8 because there's 8 SPAs. And so roughly, that means roughly about 2,000 people in SPA 8 are domestic violence victims and are requesting services. So just wanted to ground it in data that's kind of more relevant to us. But yeah, it's still a big number.
Thank you. I'm not good at math, so I'm not gonna venture myself there, but thank you for that. So CalWorks is a public assistance program that provides cash aid and services to eligible families that have children in the home. So if, for example, DCFS took away the children, they are not eligible for that until reunification. I'm not going to go over the eligibility process, but that's the group of people that we're talking about. Next slide. So we talk about TAP and that TAP stands for Temporary Homeless Assistance Program, and it provides a temporary shelter payment to homeless CalWorks family while they are looking for permanent housing. CalWorks family who are fleeing are able to access specific resources, which is really the core of this presentation today. Next slide. So we will first look at the current landscape for family who never access and receive CalWorks. So I'm a family today, I'm trying to apply today CalWorks, and this is the resources that I can obtain. So those are different sets of resources that is available through DPSS. Next. So we have the first green part that is called the expanded TAP for domestic violence. For newly enrolled CalWorks, remember I just said I'm applying today for CalWorks, never received before. I am able to receive 2 sets of motel nights. That is 16 nights and 60 nights. This green set is available once in a lifetime. They are disbursed as 2 lump sum. And if, for example, today I'm using 16 nights, but for some reason I found a place to go and I don't use the second set, I can use that 6 months or 1 year later. That's possible. Next animation.
So I just wanted to also stress to the group. So this is this is like kind of the meat and potatoes of why we had this on our agenda. Is this is a new program, right, Stephanie? And or there are components of this that are new.
It's not really new, but it's not being explained to client properly. We have had so many clients and even service provider. We don't understand the same way. And that's why I looked into it, because we had different understanding.
Yeah, and so the gist though is that there are motel nights available for folks fleeing domestic violence that can be accessed through the CalWorks program.
Yes, and that is gold. That is gold, right? When we're trying to situate a family. So the second set is the purple set. And those are the regular motel voucher that we are used to. And when I say motel voucher, it's not a paper that they give to client, it's money that they put on their EBT card. So this second set is available every 12 months and is dispersed as 7 nights, 7 nights, and 2 nights. So the first purple set is only for victim of domestic violence. And if after that, you know, they still need motel voucher, they can access the regular homeless motel voucher, which is also 16 nights. So that's an additional sets of resources they can access. And this is the TAP, the regular one. Now the third set, which is the yellow one, it's only for gain participant, and it's TAP plus. And if I can have the next, yes. This set is only once in a lifetime, and it's only for gain participant. So people who are SSI recipient, undocumented people, and people with exemption, they are not able to access this resource. But if they are lucky enough, this resource is disbursed as 7 nights and another 7 nights. Next slide.
And GAIN, GAIN is the workforce element of the CalWorks program, right? So people that are enrolled in the workforce program are the ones that would be eligible for this.
Yes, thank you. So altogether, if someone is, you know, going through that process, can obtain a total of 92 motel nights, or roughly 3 months. And they can use it at a commercial establishment that they find. So a lot of family that we assist, they need to look for a motel, and then they are free to apply the funds there. Or they have the ability to use that money that is put on their EBT card and pay a friend or family member who allow them to stay at their place. This option is really good because they charge less than motel, regular motel, and therefore clients are able to stretch the money and stay longer. The reason why we emphasize on this is that 3 months can make a big difference on finding a bed, whether we talk about domestic violence shelter or homeless shelter.
So Stephanie, so just to clarify, so far, like, so this is great for DV survivors, but also, I guess this HS16 bubble, right? So that's just for folks, regular folks who may not fall into DV category, but are getting food stamps. And
Yes.
so there is 16 nights of motel stays for even just that kind of bigger group of folks
Yes.
getting food stamps.
Yes, correct. And also the last set in yellow, the tab plus 14 is also available for people who are homeless and not DV. The last.
This one too, and then they're in the GAIN program.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the current landscape for people who already have CalWORKs. They have received the assistance for maybe 3 months, a year, 5 years, whatever. Next slide. So next slide. So basically, because remember the rule, the green part is only available for people who are newly enrolled. And therefore, they are not able to access this green set. And they are losing 32 nights of motel voucher. That's already lost. Next slide. Also, we need to mention that DPS, and they have access to the purple and the yellow if they qualify for GAIN. But basically, DPSS provide the rate of $85 per night for a household of 4 people. Over that 4 people in the household, they have an extra $15 per person with a maximum of $145 per night. Okay, so those are just the number. Next slide. And I will pass it on to Laura.
Before we let you go, Stan, we did have a question. If you can clarify the annual part, the every 12 months part of it. I think that was the gist of the question. Hold on, it was, are those annual or once in a lifetime for the 16 nights?
You're muted, Stephanie.
Which set? The green or the purple one?
Let's see.
I think it was DPSS. It was the. Well, either way, because it is once in a lifetime. Never mind. I see it on the slide now, because that's what I thought. Because one used to be once in a lifetime only, and then it changed to annual, I think.
Okay, this is the misunderstanding that we have faced in the community for the longest time.
Okay.
So those two always existed. And that's why a lot of people thought that it was a change, but no, actually the green set was always there and it was always once in a lifetime. The purple set is always every 12 months, and that's where the confusion came from. And that's important to tell folks, because someone who is fleeing domestic violence, and we understand it's a pattern, it takes at least 7 times for someone to leave the abuser for good. And if they understand that every 12 months, they will be able to get like that little help of 16 nights every year, that could be a relief for the client.
Stephanie, I'm sorry, can I add one thing? And also given the confidentiality of the nature of shelters, of domestic violence shelters, many times once you enter a DV shelter and you've exited, and if you reconnected with your perpetrator, you are not allowed back into those shelters because the confidentiality is no longer there. So that really limits the availability of resources for the survivor when they're trying to attempt to flee again. So just want to make sure that you put that out there.
We had another question in the chat. Individuals who qualify for hotel nights that aren't experiencing DV must be receiving DPSS services. So I think that answer is yes, right? Because they have to be enrolled.
Yeah, anybody who's attempting to access these services has to be eligible for DPSS services.
I think the question was, we keep talking about families. Are individuals
So
qualified?
individuals, it doesn't exist within the individual, within the individual system. This is only for CalWorks families, and the only people who are eligible for CalWorks are people with minor children. Okay, so the things that we're asking to change within the system, kind of the advocacy piece of what we're doing here. We can go ahead and click. Okay, so we talked about how that limitation is for the newly enrolled families, how they have access to these extra 32 nights while their application is processed and while they're getting eligibility, while they're approved. So what we're kind of asking for is for that newly enrolled restriction to be removed, to allow any CalWorks participant, any CalWorks family participant to have access to those, not just those that are newly enrolled families. We are then asking for that once in a lifetime restriction to kind of be removed from this as well. As Stephanie and Carrie-Al have mentioned before, domestic violence survivors attempt to leave their abusive partner 7 times before they leave a final time. So they don't need these resources once in a lifetime. They might need them 3 times, 4 times before they leave their abusive partner. Domestic violence resources are so limited within LA County. Carol mentioned that if someone enters a shelter and they decide to go back to their partner, they're no longer eligible for that shelter. So having these once in a lifetime restrictions removed, it more accurately reflects the needs for survivors, that they're not just in leaving their abusive partner one time, or they're just not in one abusive relationship in their lifetime. So more accurately reflects like their situations. And then one more. So the third ask that we're advocating for is that, as you all may know, inflation has gone up a lot, and that $85 is not really reflective of what we see in what a motel night costs. And so, as you could imagine, it's very difficult for a family to find a motel that is going to accept that $85 a night rate. It might mean that a survivor has to move outside of their spa that they feel comfortable in. It might mean that they are they're going to an area that they don't feel safe in order to access these resources and not be street homeless. So one of the advocacy pieces that we're looking into is having that hourly rate be increased to something to reflect more inflation. Stephanie did some calculations, just some averages. By no means is this accurate, but a more accurate, what we're seeing is that it's $120 per night rather than the $85 per night stay. And that will allow it easier for survivors to access motels. It'll open more doors for survivors and for motels to be a little bit more open to accepting the motel vouchers from DPSS or the motel funding.
I will add, if you can go back, I will add, remember the number that we talked about at the very beginning, 64% of the clients who were in DV shelter were making less than $25,000 a year. So you imagine that they are not able to afford motel on their own, right? That's what we are asking to remove the newly enrolled, because when they're accessing services, and they still need assistance to get access to those motel nights. And a lot of the time, what is happening with the current rate that DPSS give is that they need to come out of pocket for the extra, right? Which means that in theory, DPSS said you have 69, but because the rate is so low compared to the real cost now with inflation, that means that families spend less time in motels than what is anticipated through the concept, I will say. So that's what I wanted to add. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, so we can click through to show all of them. So, you know, kind of what we're seeing as like the change, like how this will impact survivors. And when we say survivors, we mean the umbrella of domestic violence, stalking, human trafficking, sexual assault. The resources are limited with anybody under that victimization umbrella. So we're seeing with this, we foresee like it will be faster, safer for families to leave their abusive partner. It takes a while sometimes to get into a confidential shelter. The window for a survivor could be very slim, and that window might not match that window that is for a shelter. So allowing these motel vouchers to have someone be able to then leave their abusive partner and then sit down, come down from a little bit from that fight or flight, from that survival mode, and, you know, to be able to access the different resources that are available to them to get into a domestic violence shelter or to get into a homeless shelter program, whatever program better fits their needs. We're going to see that more for survivors. They've also, you know, increasing that rate will allow, say, someone who's hosting this family temporarily, for them to allow them to stay a little bit longer. You know, the $85 a night, if they're getting $120 a night or whatever the inflation rate is more accurately reflected, that family might be more inclined to allow them to stay for a longer period of time, to allow them to then establish, to allow them to then achieve their goal of obtaining permanent housing. You know, it also alleviates the pressure for domestic violence shelters, and we would say homeless service agencies, a coordinated entry system, which don't have enough availability. You know, we're already seeing the FSCs and the coordinated entry system, homeless service agencies, asking participants to exhaust all mainstream benefits. This is a mainstream benefit, and now that we've transitioned within the family system to slot-based, the individual system is already slot-based. You know, we are seeing that survivors might not have a slot available when they need those services. But that slot could be available within that time that they are receiving these motel vouchers, that they're able to maybe be document ready during that time, because the survivor is leaving and they might not have anything in order when they leave. So it allows them time to have like gather documents within the coordinated entry system. There are certain documents that you can't come in with. So it gives them that cushion to allow to do that, to get services. It maximizes and leverages all resources for participants, not solely, you know, there's 2-in-1 that also provides kind of like a motel program, and then there's certain like other agencies that do that, you know, but this already exists within the Department of Social Services. We're just asking them a little bit to expand those resources to better fit the needs for survivors. And that concludes our presentation. If there are any questions for us or for Carrie-Elle.
Yeah, thank you, both or all three of you for the presentation. Very important topic. You know, we're seeing, I think we're closer in our spot to the $120 a night rate for sure. We've been using, especially during this past winter when we had, you know, I don't know, like hurricane-like conditions. You know, we were putting people in motels, and it was around that price. So I guess if people are on this call were interested in helping with the advocacy, how could they go about doing that?
They can contact us and see how we can collaborate. If you know, for example, someone that will be also interested to participate in the advocacy project, or if they know, you know, county folks that are willing to hear our advocacy project, DPSS, Board of Supervisor, whoever want to hear it. I think like it is a resource that exists. I think it takes less energy, less time to adjust an existing program than to create a whole new program. So our contact information are on the slide. Feel free to contact us.
Great. And then Stephanie, you know, one question I have for you is that we we constantly we get requests from families who are maybe not fleeing at the very moment from domestic violence, but they've had domestic violence in their history. So like this could be like a year ago or 3 years ago, or maybe even longer. Like, is there like a statute of limitations for when these folks can then apply for these programs?
Not to my knowledge, but I think it, and I could be wrong, but I think that it depends on the DPSS worker. When the client present their situation and is stressing the fact that, you know, their homelessness is caused by domestic violence. So it's like, you know, all together, it's the big picture, I believe. But I haven't seen anything. Laura, you can correct me.
Yeah, I would go to say exactly what you're saying. I think I have one point was like helping the FRTs, the family response team. And we did notice that like a lot of it required client advocacy and us being like, hey, you're eligible for these services. They would come back and my worker says I'm not. And we'd be like, no, tell them specifically this. And we would have to let them know these are the specific vouchers that you're eligible for. And so I think there's a lot of confusion within just service providers, even within DPSS regarding what they're eligible for. And I think that's another piece that we talk about in kind of like demystifying and just making it a little bit easier to access the resources. So long
Do they have to
answer
like,
your question.
do they have to like prove like I know that could be re-traumatizing.
No, you don't have to prove that you're a
Let's just
DV
take it
survivor in order, which is like amazing that
Yeah.
they don't have to prove that they're a DV survivor, human trafficking survivor, stalking survivor, as a survivor in order to access like these resources.
Robson, I also want to speak a little bit to the fact that it could have been a situation that happened years ago. The circumstances with that come up, examples of that would be like, for example, an individual like had a perpetrator who was incarcerated, who they have just found out who's going to be released within the next few days or whatnot. So they become a threat again. So there are various circumstances where even though the abuse may have happened many years ago, the need for like that emergency protection is necessary, or relocation, even like confidentiality is needed. So that is really important, as Laura mentioned, for us, like as providers, to be able to advocate to the worker, to be able to explain that. Many times survivors are at that moment of crisis where they can't really explain that. So they need that additional support.
Okay, thanks. Lori's just reminding me we're way behind schedule. So, but thanks you three, and I'll hand over back to Rodney.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind, but that's okay. Just make sure that you guys leave your contacts in the chat. And Lori does post a lot of this this meeting on the social stuff. So if you have further questions, we'll get to them, and somebody will get back to you. But yes, we're a little behind, but that's okay. We're going to move on to RV encampment, the pilot program rollout and implementation, and I think that's Oni.
Yeah, actually, for the RV program, it's going to be me. I'll do the presentation. Oh, thank you for pulling it up.
Good.
So again, my name is Rowena Magana. I work for the CEO's office in the Homeless Initiative, and which is part of the County of LA. And I work very closely with One and Carter, who you may have met in other meetings. Next slide, please. So this is what we are planning to talk about, just some of the recent board motions that have been approved by the Board of Supervisors. Our new RV program, which stands for Recreational Vehicle Homeless Encampment Pilot. It's a very long name, so we call it RVHEP, and a little bit more information about our protocol for the RVHEP program. So next slide, please. So this all came about via a couple of different motions in the recent past. There was a motion that was passed by the Board of Supervisors in January, and then a follow-up related motion in September. So we had a county work group that was put together, and it was comprised of various county departments and agencies such as the CEO's office, LASA, Public Works, Regional Planning, Health Services, Mental Health, Arts and Culture, our Legislative Affairs, Sheriff's Department, and also some of our service providers, St. Joseph Center. They have a program called VHOP. We had some different work group meetings to develop a program that's specific to encampment resolutions with RVs. There was a board report that was submitted recently, and if you have a copy of this presentation, you can click it, and it was submitted to the board on April 11th. Next slide, please. This pilot, it's a 36-month pilot, so 3 years. We're targeting 500 people experiencing homelessness that we would engage per year. And we would match them to a variety of services, including permanent housing and also interim housing. Another goal of this pilot is to remove or dismantle 300 RVs per year. We are looking at different hotspots, and we do have a lot of hotspots that are already sort of on the list. We looked at some homeless data from LASA, and we also were looking at data from collected from some of the other outreach teams that already have, that are sort of familiar with some of the RV encampments that already exist. But in order to figure out, the queue and which RV encampment we will look at, it will be decided by COHI, but also very much in coordination with the board offices, LASA, Sheriff's Department, Public Works, Public Health, DHS, and DMH, and other outreach teams. So we're trying to collect a lot of information to figure out which encampments would be the ones to go to first.
And I just want to add, the reason why we wanted to present this is one of the largest RV encampments is actually in our area on the East Gardena unincorporated side of the county. And it sounds like that spot might be one of the first to go on the pilot. So we're hopeful that that is the case. And we've been getting a lot of constituents contacting us concerned about this RV encampment site. Both Laura and I have toured it, and it's pretty bad. So we're hopeful that this pilot will address this issue.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's actually the RV encampment in East Gardena is probably one of the largest in LA County, and that is going to be our first hotspot. And actually, I think you can kind of see the pictures on the right-hand side that we have been working in that area. It's unincorporated Gardena, and we've had some encampment resolutions in the past, but sometimes folks come back. So those are some pictures of the area, but we have had some successes where some folks have left and then we were able to clean it up. But I think it's so large that we have to do kind of a larger approach, a more comprehensive approach. So one major thing, we need funding for this program. If you go back up to the, thank you so much. We have 13 million identified. This is Measure H funding for the first year. We estimate that we actually need about 21.8 million in order to meet those goals that were in the previous slide. So we have enough funding to get started, but we will have to also look at additional funding and see what we can also identify. We are hoping to launch this program in May, probably the end of May, perhaps early June, and first hotspot will be in Gardena. We're not going to tackle the whole entire encampment. We're going to do a little section first, and then kind of get some lessons learned, and then figure out our protocols there. But one of the major things that we need to figure out is a storage site. What you may not know is that a lot of RVs have clients that are living in them, but don't necessarily own those RVs. So we have to do some due process to figure out who is the actual registered owner. And that's why we are working very closely with our host teams. Our host teams is Homeless Outreach Services team. It's comprised of the Sheriff's Department and also LASA. It's a co-responsive group. But this it's very important that we work with the host team because we do need to figure out who is the owner of the RV, and the Sheriff's Department has legal authority to tow if needed. So there's a lot of pieces that we have to kind of figure out before we can even move. One thing that I thought was really interesting is that there are some burned RVs, and I thought that would be an easy one that we could just tow and dismantle, but we actually have to figure out who the owner is first before we do such a thing. So one major component of this program is to look for storage. So a place where we would store the RV, do the due process, which usually takes a couple of weeks, and then from there we can figure out if it's okay to dismantle or not. So we do have a site identified, but it isn't completely solidified yet. So I have to be a little bit cryptic, and I can't say exactly where that is going to be. But once we've settled that, then we can start with the pilot. And next slide. So this is a general overview of our protocol. We have an online system called HERES, stands for Homeless Encampment Automated Requests. We're building off of an existing protocol that we've had in place for over several years. Our existing protocol usually just covers an incorporated LA County and the cities that the Sheriff's Department has jurisdiction over. So we're building off of that protocol and sort of adding on this RV piece. So I just want to mention that this is, we're building off of an existing protocol that has been in place for a few years. But we have this online system called HERES where we can do a little bit of mapping and figure out where the hotspots are. Once it's entered, LASA, Sheriff's Department, and DPW will conduct a site assessment and figure out if this is actually in our jurisdiction, if there's actually parties there, et cetera. Then after that, we get the okay to schedule this encampment resolution. So we do a coordinated approach. LASA works with other homeless service providers, for example, Harbor Interfaith or Mental Health LA or St. Margaret Center, in order to do outreach to the clients at the site and try to refer them to interim or permanent housing. And then at that time, the Sheriff's Department will also try to identify ownership of the RVs, and Department of Public Health will also be involved with this because of the RV, to do sort of an environmental assessment to see sort of what is the situation with the RV. Maybe that's step 3. The next slide, please. So step 4, we do have a posting process. So outreach engagement happens, then there's a posting where we say in 2 weeks in the future, we will be back, and that will be the day of the cleanup. So we want to make sure that there's enough time for clients to get engaged and find out what services that they might be eligible for or interested in. So it's definitely very client-centered. And outreach is ongoing during this whole encampment protocol. Final encampment resolution occurs on the day of the posting, and on that day there's a collaborative engagement effort will be made in order to connect clients to housing and services. And actually, I can't see the bottom of this line. If you don't mind going a little further, thank you. At that time, any remaining RVs will be towed or dismantled or stored, however we, depending on the situation. And certainly information will go back to the registered owner. So we know that a lot of folks are living in these RVs, and so we don't want to just tow without letting the appropriate people know what is going on and where they can actually go get the RV if they do want to retrieve it back. So so there's a lot of sort of paperwork and issues that we have to work on here, but we're working closely with the DMV to help us with that. So then, for example, once the RV is dismantled, we want to make sure that all the paperwork is done. It's called the junk slip for short, that is also filed so that the RVs don't go back onto the road. If, for example, if they're are immovable or just not roadworthy. So there is a lot more that will happen after. I know what's on the slides. Certainly, a lot of we'll be working very closely with the providers to find motel vouchers and permanent housing. There's some funding in that Measure H that I just mentioned to do that, so that there is sort of a pathway into permanent housing. So so I know I kind of talked just about this RV piece and just wanted to also mention that I know that there's a lot of encampment resolution working with the cities. And so we're working very closely together with Carter and O'Neill's team to see where are those encampment resolutions that are being planned, and looking at our list and making sure that we're coordinating our efforts. So I just wanted to mention that piece. And I know I went kind of fast, but I think I can stop there and see if there's any questions from the group.
Questions?
Thank you, Rowena. Just want to let everyone know also, Lori has posted not only this presentation, but also the report on the agenda website of our South Bay COG Homeless Task Force website. So if you want to read that, it's up there. I think it's like a 20-page report that was sent back. So thank you, Lori, for doing that. And all these presentations are also uploaded by her on our site. Just a quick note. I think there's just certainly, I think Rowena touched on kind of the big points. You know, there's a lot of logistical issues, right? Like where are they going to tow the RVs? Where are they going to be stored until they're dismantled? We need to find locations for that. And so those are just some of the logistical issues the county is going to have to figure out. Lori?
Yes, thank you so much, Rowena and Onay, for the work that you're doing. This problem has been happening for a long time. And I just want to bring to the attention of everybody here that while this problem might not be prevalent in your area, yet is the key word. As these RVs get moved out, people are going to try and get more creative, find other locations to do this. And the reason they're in that area by East Gardena is because of jurisdictional areas. They figured out they can be in between, you know, yet an unincorporated, and then is it LAPD, is LASD, and they work the system. And just to inform you so everybody understands, most of these RVs are not owned by the people that are living in them. They're owned by a few people who have started a business. They are landlords and property managers, okay, who are charging rent for these. And if people don't pay the rent, they set them on fire. And just this year alone, they've had almost 200 fires in these RVs because these landlords can get these inoperable RVs so cheaply and get them towed to these locations. So I think this program that Rowena presented is so important to send the message out there that this is not going to be acceptable moving forward. And then of course, the main effort is to get the people who are renting these housed, get them the support that they need. There's a lot of families there. When Ron and I toured this is something I can never unsee. Okay, this is like Skid Row. And so I think it's very, very important. And I appreciate the work you're doing, and we're going to track this and let us know how we can help. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. The city of Gardena thanks you too, because we get accused of allowing motorhomes to be in our city, and it's not our city. So this will be a good project that we can tell people. We've referred people to Ronson already for assistance, and they've been very happy with the responses that the COG and Ronson has given them. So we're really hoping that this project goes forward and works well.
And
Okay.
Rowena, I want to say thank you too,
Go ahead.
Rowena. That's my area, Rowena. So I'll be there to help you, whatever you need. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, everybody's on board with this one. So
And I just want to mention it, and it's true. I'm glad that a lot of these encampment resolutions that are being coordinated, because that is exactly what happens when you know, we'll clean up on one side, and then the next side will be county, and the other side will be city of LA, for example. And then, you know, street cleaning, people kind of go back and forth. So it's certainly on top of mind that we need to coordinate with the cities and the other jurisdictions. And it's not just cities, it's also, you know, the roadways, Caltrans, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of jurisdictional kind of issues.
Right.
So it's a lot of coordination and making sure that we are we know which teams are out there, who has the by name list, and then which days are we going out there, so we're not cleaning one day and then have to clean, you know, 2 weeks later, the same group. So there's a lot of logistics that we're finding out. So.
One question, Rowena. Do you know why the city and the county is not on the same page?
Oh, I think we're getting on the same page. I think part of the RVs is just
I'm sorry, only, but you know, go ahead.
Yeah, just to say that, like, we both know about that, so we have been trying to coordinate our efforts, but RVs are really tough just because it's so hard to find tow yards that have enough space and that are willing to even take the RVs. So I mean, there's just an added complication there because of it's so expensive to tow them, and it's hard to find space where they will go.
okay, thanks. Okay, we're going to move to the next topic. And again, if you have questions, make sure you throw them in the chat, and we'll make sure that those get answered. But we're going to move on to item 6. That's Hawthorne's temporary village update. And I believe Dulce is going to present this.
I forgot I was muted. I apologize. Hi, everyone. Lori, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in quite a bit. I hope you're doing much better. Thank you, Ronson, for the invite. So yes, I'm here to happy news, hopefully. This is moving forward, Hawthorne on the move. I'm going to be talking about the city's new project, the Bridge of Hope Community Housing. And Ronson, I guess you could go on to the next slide. For those that don't know me, I'm Dulce Medina. I'm the program manager for the city's homeless services program in collaboration with St. Margaret Center. And I'm going to be just doing a quick site overview, share some slides regarding our ceremonies that took place for a groundbreaking and a ribbon cutting ceremony, and talk about the service provider that's going to be overseeing all the operations for the Bridge of Hope Community Housing and the move-in date. So last year, in October of last year, the city council approved 3,800 square feet of city property for what is now known the Bridge of Hope Community Housing. The address location is at 3200 West 131st Street. It's on the border of Hawthorne. The community will provide, or is providing, it's already built, I'm super excited, 12 pallets. All of them are 64 square shelter units. One is ADA compliant. It'll have a ramp. They're actually completing it this week. A ramp with the rails and an adjustable bed. The pallets all come with all the amenities, have locked doors, windows, secure ventilation. They have a folding bed, a table, a chair, electricity heater. Each pallet has an air conditioner, a mini air conditioner inside, the fire extinguisher, the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, and all of them have slip resistant floors and storage available for every resident. Some of the additional amenities that the community will have is an administration area for the on-site staff, a full equipped pantry with all appliances, and a 24-hour security booth that was just finally completed today. And so it'll have its own phone line. It'll have access to all the cameras throughout the community. In addition, it's going to have a shared laundry facility with 4 stack washers and dryers on the premises. It's going to have a 1 ADA compliant full bathroom and a 1 standard half bathroom. It comes with the bike rack in the back area and beautiful outdoor eating space with benches, umbrellas for shade, and there's cameras throughout the community. So last year, the council approved in October. In November, the groundbreaking ceremony took place and construction started happening in December of last year, and it finalized in March of this year. So it was a pretty quick project, very hands-on, and the ribbon cutting ceremony took place just last month. Thank you for the COG support. Vice Chair Hicks was there. I appreciate the encouraging words and motivation speech he gave. It really was wonderful to get that support and encouragement from him. And yeah, you see a couple of the pictures, the groundbreaking, the construction that took place, the groundbreaking, a couple of the pallets there. Most of the pallets, if you want to, the next slide, Ronson, I think I have, yeah, this is exactly the way it looks. The pallets, we provided that we're going to be providing the residents with a clothing basket, hamper, pillow, a robe, some slippers, overthrow, an additional blanket that the service provider will be bringing, the bedding. You don't see the bedding there, but it's already there now. The chair was provided, notebooks, pens, pencils for the residents, and we are just eager to start moving them in. But it's a beautiful, beautiful area. All the weekly planning and weekly meetings. This is what looks like after all that planning. So I'm quite happy and pleased, and hopefully the residents will be too. Next slide. So the service provider that, for those that don't know who the service provider, we selected LA CATA, and for those that don't know who LA CATA is, they are the Los Angeles Centers for Alcohol and Drug Abuse. They are licensed, certified by the state Department of Healthcare Services and the Department of Public Health. And their focus point is on substance abuse and prevention and control, which definitely captured our attention. They've done a wonderful job of working with us in the innovation grant through the COG, and we are quite thrilled that their ongoing efforts are definitely having results within our unhoused neighbors. LA CATA currently has 120 beds that they're providing services for our clients, 245 recovery bridge beds, 16 mental health crisis residential beds, and they're soon to add an additional 16 emergency beds. And I can tell you that, you know, and Ronson, Womed Bilai, with our innovation grant that we currently have with them, we are at 4 beds with an additional 5th bed as an emergency. And they have gone beyond their ability to allow us to place clients in there that are seeking treatment. And we are more than thankful for their services, because if we wouldn't have that the collaboration we have, you know, our clients would still be out on the streets without a triage bed, because sometimes, you know, as you know, some of our shelter spaces throughout SPOT 8 and throughout LA County, there's just very limited. So why did the city pick LA CATA and Truly? It's a very simple answer. We like the fact that they focus on the whole person care approach. They provide the wraparound services that we're looking for every resident to receive. They are hands-on without a doubt. They're consistent, persistent, they're very compassionate, and they're committed. And that's one thing that I was very impressed since the start from them. They are committed to being present and treating everyone with dignity and respect. So the team that's going to be overseeing the bridge program will be a full-time program manager, a full-time case manager, 3 residential aides on site, 1 overnight, 2 full-time maintenance staff, and a full-time housing navigator. And they will continue to work with my office here to assure that all the residents being approved to move in there are document ready or are in the process of getting document ready. Most of the clients that we have on our waiting list are at 80 to 90% document ready. So if they're missing 1 document, that's not going to prohibit them from moving in. We will help them while they're in the tiny home space. Next slide. And so move-in date, we can't wait. It's going to be May 15th on Monday. We're going to be moving 7 residents in, and then we're going to be moving in some on the 16th and the 17th. So it's already at full capacity. Starting May 15th, we're going to be moving in 12 residents approved already to move into the Bridge of Hope community housing. The ideal length of stay for every resident there will be 90 to 180 days. Of course, every case is different. We're going to look at every case individually, but that's our target stay for every resident, 90 to 180 days. The service provider will bring the on-site case management. They're planning already an array of additional activities, Zumba, mental health trainings and courses, and they're having the food distribution there. So they're already planning an array of services that are going to be provided to the residents. And we're looking forward for every resident to experience a peaceful environment where they could feel safe and start thinking, putting their goals down, working with a case manager, and really focus on what they want their future to be. And we're quite happy that we're going to be part of that process with them. And that is my contact information. If you have any questions, I am overjoyed every time I talk about this project, because It took some time. I remember talking about it back in 2019, 2020, when it was in another location. And now it's actually here. We're getting ready to move folks in May 15th. So we're very much looking forward to it. So thank you for providing this opportunity to share.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great program. And you guys are already going to be full. So it's a well-needed
Yes.
project. So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any quick questions before we move on? Okay. Ronson, I'm going to ask
Rodney.
real quickly. I think Jackie has to jump off.
I have one question for
Oh, go
Dulce.
ahead.
Dulce, how much was the total amount to do this? Do you know?
Approximately, I want to say close to 700,000. Yeah.
700,000?
Uh-huh.
And you had partnerships?
I mean, the project in itself was funded by the ARPA, the Home ARPA grant, the PLH grant, which is the permanent local allocation grant, and then the community development CARES Act grant.
Yeah, primarily Home ARP and the PLHA funding. I believe Inglewood has some of that funding as well.
I believe so, yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. This is Tracy Duncan from City of England.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I wanted. Very good, Dulce. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really nice.
You're next, Inglewood.
Yeah. So I think Jackie had to jump off, but I was going to ask her if she had any quick announcements for the COG. But I do think she jumped off. Okay, so go ahead, Ronson, you're on.
Yeah, I'm going to yield my time to actually Venice Family Clinic. They had an important announcement to make.
That's good. Okay.
Are they still on?
Are they still on?
They don't know. They don't know about any of this.
I'm sorry. Is that for me?
It's for Yvonne.
Yeah. So,
I was like
yeah, I wanted
patiently
to make sure
waiting.
I got you guys in there. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll
I'm
give my time to
sorry.
you. Yep.
Yeah, so sorry. My name is Patty Lopez. I'm from Venice Family Clinic from the Health Insurance Department. And I wanted to quickly talk about Medi-Cal and offer us as a resource if anybody is not partnering already with someone that helps with this. So as you know, with the PHE ending and the no negative action ending for Medi-Cal, starting July 1st, people are going to start losing their benefits if they don't do their annual redetermination. And so there's a big campaign to let everybody know that they should fill out these documents that they haven't filled out for 3 years. But our biggest worry is, what about the people who receive their mail through through DPSS because they're unhoused, or through another place that allows them to use their address? Or what about the people that that lost housing during the pandemic and have no idea that now if they don't turn in this packet, they will lose their Medi-Cal coverage? So I want to make sure that we came out here and spoke to everybody that works with this population to give our information so that you can reach out to us. We work with SPA 5 and SPA 8, and we're willing to come to you guys if you think that this is beneficial for your clients. And so, we just really want to make sure that people don't lose their coverage, and we want to make sure that they know where they can come if they want to keep it, and also when they lose their coverage, where they can come to do an application that is not DPSS, because we're also thinking that DPSS is going to be really bombarded, and the wait times that are already about an hour to get through are going to get greater as people start losing their benefits July 1st. So I'm going to write. Yeah, I'm going to write my email on here.
I was wondering if you had a flyer I think I have a flyer about the Medi-Cal renewals, but if you have something that actually has your contact information, or I can add your contact information to existing flyers that I've seen out there. This is very important, and thank you.
Yes, I can definitely send out flyers. I'll reach out to Yvonne, which is who you are more familiar with, to see who I need to, or give it to her so she can send out to the group. But we're happy to work with anybody who thinks that it would be best for us to come on a particular day or whatnot and do an event where we, we help as many people, where they are at, as opposed to them coming to us. Although we do have places here in the Venice side and also in South Bay.
Thank you.
Patty, you
Thank
should
you.
definitely come to our care coordination meeting Wednesdays at 2 to make that announcement if you haven't already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions for Patty? Yeah, Josie, go ahead.
Yes, really quick. Did I hear you correctly, Patty? You can actually come out to us?
Yes, we want to offer to partner with anybody who thinks it would be beneficial for us to come over.
Well,
So
I would love to, I'll follow up with you. The Venice Mobile Clinic will be providing all the medical care to the tiny homes, but definitely we have a couple of clients that need that assistance. So I will definitely be reaching out to you. Thank you,
Great.
Patty.
No, thank you guys.
Yeah, this loss of Medi-Cal is it's really important that people get those apps back in. Anything else for Patty?
Patty, are there any homeless connect days where this is being offered to? Do you know? No.
I don't know that, but I can find out, see if maybe Yvonne is a little bit more connected to that information.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about doing one in Spot 8 for a while. We haven't done one in a long time. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't have anything planned right now.
Okay, well, let me know.
Okay. Ronson, go ahead. You got anything else that you want to jump in real quick?
Just really quickly, Lori also posted some other resources on the website. One is this county resource, which it's like 140 pages long, but it's kind of helpful. It serves kind of as a reminder. They just reissued this on April 4th. But all the different county resources that are available to folks from every agency, Department of Mental Health, Department of Public Health. This resource was designed for people in shelters, but when I read through this, you don't really need to be in a shelter to access these resources. And so we reposted this on our website for folks in case you want to just get a refresher on all the county resources that are available for people and how to access those resources. So that was one. And then we're constantly trying to promote mental health service workers. We need more of them. NAMI, I think Paul Stansberry is on this call, but NAMI has this great program, peer training and placement program, where it's an 80-hour course. And then you get certified as a peer mental health peer specialist, and they'll even help you place you on a potential either volunteer job or a real job, paid job, to help with mental health work in our communities. And this flyer is also on our website, and we'll also share it on our recap email that Lori puts together. But that's it for me.
Okay, and thanks, because Lori just posted now, everything's on our website. So, if you're really interested, go to our website. All the stuff is posted on there. So, okay, thanks. I appreciate your giving up a lot of your time, Ronson. So, we'll move to legislative updates. We have any of those? We have, let's see, I think we had somebody from Ted Lieu's office, anything?
Nothing to report from me.
Okay.
The congressman is still working very hard to get support for his homelessness through services bill.
Okay.
We'll keep you informed.
And we'll take any money that he wants to funnel our way. So any other legislative issues that are bringing up?
If I may, this is Paul Stansberry.
Go ahead, Paul.
Senate Bill 43 regarding gravely disabled did pass the Senate Judiciary Committee and going to the Appropriations Committee. It's moving forward. It had an opposition. So that's the one trying to clarify definition of gravely disabled, which may be of some assistance in dealing with these issues with that. So it is moving forward at this point in time.
Okay. Yeah, Lori. Yeah, okay. Ronson, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just hand clapping for the bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Jackie has had to go to another meeting. So right now we're caught up, but are there any announcements that anybody on the group wants to make? any events, anything happening?
If I may, I once again, this Friday, on May 5th, from 10 to 12, Department of Health Service Advisory Committee is meeting at the Hoffman Hall in Lawndale, 10 to 12. And so it's a service area meeting. It's a chance to celebrate May's Mental Health Month. So this is part of our May's Mental Health Month activities. And then on May 11th, I can send this to Lori, Superintendent Carvalho and Secretary Javier Becerra are having a call about mental health and youth dealing with the schools. And that's on May 11th. I can send it to Lori to send out that.
Thank you, Paul. And I think Kent just emailed me a little while ago. There's like 3 upcoming events for mental health resource fairs. Kent, do you?
Spot 8's having one.
Well, there's 3 of them. Kent, calling on you without you being prepared. Can you answer those? Are you there? No, maybe he's not listening.
The one I know for sure is Thursday.
Hang on one sec.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, yeah, there's one on the 25th. So
Hi, sorry about that. I was listening and I was listening and didn't have my ear thing in. So
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just sharing some information that had been shared last night. Hang on, let me go back and get that. We had our CD15 working group on homelessness. And Desi from CD15 had asked me to share a mental health fair. Let me see, let me go get this. Yeah, you caught me off guard there, but that's okay. Hang on one sec. Where is it? Hang on.
Well, George is listening and he might have the information from CD15.
Hi, sorry, that's me. This is Jocelyn from the mayor's
thank
office.
you, Jocelyn.
Oh, yeah, no worries. But
For
it's
saving me on that.
It's a health and resource fair taking place at Harbor City Skate Park on Saturday, May 20th at 11. So that's in Harbor City. That's the one that I have.
Yeah, that's the one that I shared, Lori.
Let's see. I got. We'll just go down the line. Oni.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick update on the Blue Ribbon Commission. Excited to provide this update, actually. So the actual Blue Ribbon Commission report back is anticipated to be released next week with a ton of details. But just an overview, there was some additional time taken for the follow-up and some discussion related to a lot of the feedback and input that we received regarding recommendation number 7 and the executive level action team, and really the overall kind of governance picture of the homeless response system. So that's why it's taken a little bit of time, but a couple of other key recommendation updates related to 3 other recommendations. So with recommendation number 2, establishing and implementing the local solutions fund, I'm extremely happy to say that that's been established and implemented. I think we've reported out on some of the numbers of how that went to basically quadrupling the local solutions fund or old innovations fund through the life of Measure H, and those funds have been earmarked, and we've been working with the COGS to program the 23-24 allocation, and working with Ronson on his and with the member cities here. With RECO number 1C and the regional convenings, the next regional convening will be centered around the conversation of recommendation number 6, actually, and that's the data and metrics recommendation. When you really break down recommendation number 6, it's a loaded directive with significant sub-directives to address many key issues around 4 work streams, and that's IT and data governance, data infrastructure, integration and data management, the key performance indicators and metrics, and then data sharing. The objective of the regional convening is basically for all of us to have a discussion and really walk away with an understanding of what's been done, where we're at, and then what's to come. And then your feedback on where we're at and your input on what's to come is essential for that. Right now, we're currently coordinating with the key folks that need to be part of that discussion, including Cal Policy Lab. And then once we nail down their availability and those dates, I'll be working with Ronson to target towards the end of May to get yours scheduled. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Thank you. Dulcie?
Yes, I wanted to just a reminder that the Venice Mobile Clinic will be providing medical services to all Hawthorne residents, or actually just the community in general. Starting May 15th, they're going to station their mobile clinic right in front of our office, homeless service office. Starting May 15th, they'll be with us every Monday moving forward from 9 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Mondays. And then just a quick reminder that tomorrow it's National Day of Prayer. The community in Hawthorne is inviting everyone to attend the National Day of Prayer at Del Air Baptist Church here in Hawthorne. And it's
Thank you.
7 o'clock in the evening.
Thank you. Diana?
Hi, just wanted to, because since Paul mentioned it, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, the City of Gardena Human Services Division is going to be holding a mental health fair on May 19th, beginning at 5, I believe, and we're going to be having resources talking about, mental health, destigmatizing, and also doing some fun activities. It's open to the community and it's open to all ages. So if you guys are interested, it will be located at our Nakaoka Community Center, and we're really excited to hold this. So
Thanks you. My quick one is that the SPA 8 says on Thursday, the 25th of May from 12 to 2 at the Curtis Tucker Center for community wellness. 123 Manchester and Inglewood is having an event, and you can RSVP via Eventbrite. And anything else before we move on? Okay, so I thank everybody. This chat has actually grown. I think we had something like 25 people today. And that just shows you that homelessness is important. It's something that we all need to band together to work on. And this group has shown some great strides. So I hope to see you at the next meeting, which is on 5 July. Same place, same time, same channel. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. God bless you all. Thanks.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Ronnie.
it.
We had like 40 plus actually.
40 plus. Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe next month we'll have 50. So we'll keep trying.
Thank you very much. I really learned a lot today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rita.
Keep coming. You'll learn more.
I sure will.
Okay. Ronson and Lori, thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Rodney.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Ronson, you probably couldn't stop the recording.